I heard the sickening crack before I even saw what happened. A young delivery driver, barely 21, lay sprawled on my front steps, his packages scattered like broken promises. His arm bent at an unnatural angle. And there she was, Karen from the Homeowners Association, standing smugly with her arms folded, muttering, "That'll teach him not to walk on my path." God, I froze. Who does that? My blood surged, my pulse hammering in my ears as the poor kid screamed in pain. He wasn't just hurt. He was screaming, "Ma'am, please, I think it's broken. Oh my God, it's broken." His voice cracked, raw and terrified. And Karen, she had the audacity to roll her eyes. Over-dramatic. She scoffed, like his agony was nothing more than a scene in a soap opera. I rushed down the steps, kneeling beside him, my hands trembling. "Don't move. Don't move. Just breathe. Kid, breathe." His skin was pale, his forehead slick with sweat, his breath shallow. My heart cracked right then. This wasn't just an accident. No, this was assault. And when I turned to her, I swear my voice shook with rage. "Did you trip him?" She didn't even blink. "He shouldn't have been here in the first place. Delivery trucks don't belong in this neighborhood. Rules are rules. Rules. Rules." My hands curled into fists. The sound of the kid groaning behind me made it unbearable. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Her smirk faltered. Sirens. Blue and red flashing lights. The paramedics loaded him onto a stretcher, his cries echoing as they carried him away. The driver's arm, limp and swollen, looked like something out of a nightmare. One of the medics whispered to me, "Compound fracture. This isn't minor." I turned back to Karen. "You're going to pay for this." She huffed, waving her hand like she was swatting a fly. "You'll see. Nothing will stick. The Homeowners Association protects me." Oh, that word. Protect. The smugness in her voice made bile rise in my throat. Protect. From what? From accountability. The officer on the scene pulled me aside. "We'll take her statement. But did you actually see her trip him?" "Yes." She stuck out her foot. I insisted, my voice cracking. But Karen chimed in before I could continue. "Lies. This neighbor of mine has been trying to sabotage me for months. She'll say anything to smear my name." Her performance was Oscar-worthy. I swear, if you didn't know better, you'd think she was the victim. Her hand fluttered to her chest, fake tears brimming in her eyes. "Officer, please. This man has been harassing me." Couldn't even breathe. Me. Harassing her. The audacity. I nearly laughed. Except rage had me shaking too hard. The officer scribbled in his notebook, his face unreadable. The weeks that followed were a blur of paperwork, statements and court dates. The delivery company filed charges. The boys' parents, God bless them, showed up at my door one night, their eyes red from crying. He was supposed to start college in the fall. His mother whispered, clutching a crumpled tissue. Now the doctors don't know if he'll even regain full use of his arm. I felt the weight of her grief like a boulder crushing my chest. Karen had stolen more than just his health. She had stolen his future. And she still strutted around the neighborhood like she was untouchable. Every homeowners association meeting became a battlefield. Karen spread her poison like wildfire. "She's making up stories. The driver fell on his own." People these days, always looking to blame someone. Neighbors whispered, glancing at me with suspicion, some even nodding along to her lies. Oh, the humiliation. The injustice burned like acid in my throat. One night, sitting on my porch, I watched the moonlight glint off the empty steps where it had all happened. My stomach churned as I replayed that awful crack in my mind. The scream, Karen's smug face. The thought haunted me, what if nobody believes us? What if she gets away with it? But then, oh, sweet twist of fate. 2 weeks before trial, one of my quieter neighbors, Mr. Alvarez, knocked gently on my door. His eyes darted nervously. "I don't want trouble," he murmured, glancing over his shoulder. "But I installed a new security camera facing your steps. Caught the whole thing." Karen tripped him, clear as day. I gasped. You have the footage." He nodded, sliding me a USB drive. I couldn't live with myself if I stayed silent. My knees nearly gave out. Proof. Finally. The day of the trial felt like walking into a storm. Karen strutted in wearing a white blazer, acting like the queen of suburbia. She even winked at the judge. Winked. Can you believe that? The delivery driver sat at the plaintiff's table, his arm still in a cast, his face drawn with pain. His parents clutched each other, their grief etched into every line of their faces. And then it was my turn to testify. My palms sweated, my throat dry. But when the defense lawyer tried to paint Karen as a misunderstood rule enforcer, I snapped. She tripped him, I said, my voice ringing through the courtroom. And I can prove it. The room fell silent as the footage played. The screen flickered to life, grainy black and white, but unmistakable. Karen, standing at the steps, the driver approaching with 2 packages. And then, her foot darting out. He fell. The sickening twist of his arm. Her smug little smirk. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge's face hardened like stone. Karen's lawyer stammered. That could be misinterpreted. Silence. The judge barked. Karen's mask cracked. She leapt from her seat, shouting. He shouldn't have been there. It was my property. My rules. Her voice echoed, wild and desperate. The jury's faces said it all. Disbelief. Disgust. Anger. When the gavel slammed, it was like thunder. Guilty of assault. The judge declared. Sentencing to follow. Karen collapsed into her chair, her face pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. No homeowners association protection. No lies to save her now. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. The driver's mother clutched my hand, tears spilling freely. Thank you, she whispered. But the bitter twist. Karen wasn't just fined. She wasn't just banned from the Homeowners Association board. She was sentenced to probation and community service. Forced to work at the very hospital where the boy was recovering. Every day, she had to pass by the wing where he learned to use his arm again. See his struggle. See the pain she caused. That was her punishment. And honestly, it was poetic. Yet, the neighborhood still buzzed with tension. Some neighbors muttered about overreaction. Others avoided eye contact. Justice had been served. Yes, but the scars of that day lingered in the air. Invisible but heavy. Sometimes at night, when the cicadas quiet down, I still hear that crack. I see him falling. Packages flying. Karen's cruel smirk burned into my memory. And I wonder, how many times has she hurt others before, without anyone daring to speak up? But not this time. This time, the truth shattered her facade. And that truth, it stung her worse than any fine ever could. So tell me, was justice truly done here? Or was this just karma finally catching up with someone who thought she was untouchable? Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more unbelievable Homeowners Association drama stories. You lit this fire, didn't you? She screeched, pointing her stubby red fingernail toward the smoking remains of my rose bushes. I saw you, Missy. You've always been trouble on this street. I blinked. Once, twice. The heat still shimmered off the scorched edge of the lawn, the acrid smell of burning mulch curling into my nose. You think I'd set my own garden on fire, Karen? God, I could barely hear myself think over the sirens now blaring down Meadowlark Lane. She stood in her usual combat stance, arms crossed tight over her neon pink, HOA president, hoodie, phone already in hand, probably live streaming to her Facebook Neighborhood Justice Watch group. You broke regulation 4C on landscaping last week, she hissed. This is your little temper tantrum, isn't it? Your sick rebellion against the rules. I swear I could feel my blood pressure spike. My hands trembled not from guilt, but from the pure, unfiltered nerve of this woman. I took a breath, then another. The fire had already eaten through the back fence. My hydrangeas, charred sticks. My tomato bed, gone. Melted cages, blackened soil. It had started in my garden. But I hadn't even been home. A cough escaped Medri, raw. Karen, I was at my mother's hospice all day. You know that. Oh, please, she snapped, waving it off. Like you don't have a dozen disgruntled friends who'd do your dirty work. You're a problem. Always have been. Your backyard's a mess. Your paint's faded. And don't think I haven't seen your son parking his city truck here. That's misuse of government property. And just like that, cue the twist of fate. Because at that moment, the fire truck screeched to a stop. Red, silver, loud. Its lights painted the street in pulsing crimson. And stepping down from it, helmet tucked under his arm, was none other than Captain Eli Ramirez. My son. Karen's smug grin twitched. He walked with that slow, deliberate stride of someone used to commanding a room even if that room was engulfed in flames. Mom, he called, eyes scanning the smoking garden. You okay? I nodded. She called it in. Karen's eyes widened. Oh, I mean, yes, I called. I saw the smoke and ran to help. I even grabbed my hose. Look! She pointed to her sad little coiled garden hose by her feet. Dry as the Mojave. Eli turned to her slowly. Did you move anything? Touch anything? She blinked. And no, of course not. Two preserved the scene. Just like you should, right? I mean, I saw a flame and thought arson. He raised a brow. Arson. She flinched. I just mean maybe. Possibly. She's always been uncooperative. That was when another firefighter walked up, holding a small, blackened canister. Metal. Charred but still recognizable. Cap, he said. Found this behind the planter box. Looks like a timed igniter. Homemade. The words hung there. Heavy. Electric. Karen's mouth opened. Then closed. Then opened again. Oh wow. That's so scary, she stammered. It must be one of those kids. You know the teens around here always lighting things for TikTok. Eli nodded, slow. Then glanced at me. We'll sweep for fingerprints. That was when Karen really started to sweat. I saw her pupils dart toward her phone still recording. Her hand shot out, fumbling to end the stream. Too late. A loud voice rang out behind us. Hey! I was watching your live, Karen. Did you just say you lit it to teach her a lesson? Oh, my God. Across the street, her neighbor Grant stood on his porch, phone in hand, stunned. Karen's face drained of color. No, that's not what it was sarcasm. I was just ugh. Eli crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Ma'am, you may want to stay right here while we talk to the fire marshal. Her voice broke a little. You're going to believe her over me? That's your mother. He didn't blink. That's exactly why I'm recusing myself from the investigation. But the fact that you're suddenly defensive? That's on you. Karen suddenly launched into a full Karen spiral. You can't do this to me. I run this HOA. I built this neighborhood. I hosted the potluck and repainted the mailbox tower myself. Eli tilted his head. And you think that entitles you to burn someone's backyard? She screamed, a full-throated, banshee wail. This is political. She's been turning the board against me for months. I couldn't help myself. I laughed. Just once. Sharp and bitter. The kind of laugh that tastes like ash and long overdue justice. You banned my birdbath because it reflected sunlight aggressively. You fined me $200 for letting clover grow under my maple tree. You've been waiting to make me snap. And when I didn't, you faked it. Karen lunged forward like she wanted to smack the smirk off my face, but Eli stepped between us. Don't, he warned, voice low. You touch my mom, and I will call the sheriff myself. Oh, go ahead, she shouted. Let the whole county see how you treat volunteers. I give my life to this neighborhood. Then maybe it's time to get it back, I said softly. She glared at me like she wanted to skin me alive. Then, from behind her, another voice joined the chaos. Excuse me, said a tall woman in a blazer and badge, walking up with a clipboard. I'm Deputy Hughes from the County Fire Marshal's office. Who's the HOA president? Karen froze, then slowly raised her hand like a guilty second grader. Deputy Hughes flipped a page on her clipboard. Good. You'll need to explain why there are surveillance photos showing you entering this yard an hour before the fire started, with a fuel can in hand. My mouth dropped. Even I didn't know about the camera. Karen staggered back. You're lying. You're all lying. The deputy's expression didn't change. We'll see what your lawyer says. Suddenly, Karen spun around and bolted, heels clicking furiously on the pavement as she made a break for her house. Eli sighed. We're going to need a warrant, aren't we? Deputy Hughes nodded. Already in progress. I just stood there, surrounded by wilted petals and ash, letting the moment sink in. The woman who fined me for leaving out trash 10 minutes too long had just tried to burn down my garden and blame me for it. And now, she was about to be indicted. Karen never made it to her front door. 2 deputies were already jogging across the lawn, one with cuffs, the other with a body cam rolling. She tried to slam the door, but they were faster, stronger, louder. The moment the metal clicked around her wrists, a strange quiet fell over the cul-de-sac. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. Phones recorded from porches. You could practically taste the justice in the air, hot, bitter, and long overdue. She shrieked as they read her rights. This is a mistake. I'm being targeted. I was setting a controlled burn for garden maintenance. I Googled it. No one was buying it. By the time she was loaded into the cruiser, her phone was blowing up with angry comments on her HOA live stream. People had screen recorded everything. She'd bragged. She'd slipped. She'd burned herself. Really? My son walked over to me, his face unreadable again, though I could see the twitch of a smile at the corner of his mouth. You okay, Mom? I nodded, heart pounding, throat dry. I think I am now. Then I saw it, Mrs. Donnelly from 2 doors down, handing a stack of papers to Deputy Hughes. What's that? I asked. Oh, she said sweetly, adjusting her wide-brimmed gardening hat. A class action lawsuit. Karen fined half the street for decorative violations. Turns out most of us had evidence she was pocketing the money. Eli let out a low whistle. She's not just losing her seat. She's gonna lose her house. As the cruiser pulled away, Karen pressed her face to the window like a ghost trapped behind glassard-faced, mascara running, yelling something no one could hear anymore. I turned toward the wreckage of my once proud garden and exhaled. Well, I muttered. Guess it's time to plant fire-resistant shrubs. Eli chuckled. And maybe install another camera? Already ordered 2, I said with a wink. Sometimes karma doesn't knock, it kicks the damn door in, drags someone out screaming, and leaves behind the scent of burnt roses. And if you think HOA Karens can't get what's coming to them, think again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because this lawsuit, oh, it's just getting started. I'll never forget the look on Karen's face the day she tried to frame me. You know that smug, pinched smile some people wear like a weapon? Yeah, that was her trademark expression as she stood there on my porch, arms crossed, acting like the queen of the neighborhood. And guess what she accused me of? Counterfeit goods. Me? What kind of insane movie-level drama was this? It all started with a knock that sounded more like a demand. Bang, bang, bang. I jumped, my coffee mug clinking against the table, and hurried to the door. There she was, Karen from the HOA, her hair sprayed into a helmet and her sunglasses perched high like she was leading some FBI task force. We need to talk, she barked, not even waiting for an invite. I sighed, gripping the edge of the door. Karen, it's 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday. Could this wait until— No, she snapped, stepping closer. We've had reports about suspicious packages coming to your house. I think you're running something shady. What? I blinked, completely thrown off. Suspicious packages? You mean my online orders? Karen, I literally ordered dog food and a blender last week. What are you even? She raised her hand like she was stopping traffic. Don't lie to me. I know counterfeit goods when I see them, and I will report this to the authorities if you don't cooperate. Her voice had that sharp, fake authority tone that made my blood boil. I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. Karen, I don't know what fantasy you're living in, but I'm not running some black market operation. Now, if you'll excuse me, and just as I was about to close the door, she slid her foot forward. She actually blocked my door with her ridiculous wedge sandal. Don't test me, she hissed. I've seen your garage. All those boxes stacked up like a warehouse. Don't tell me that's just household items. I felt my jaw drop. You mean the boxes from moving? I just bought this place 3 months ago. Maybe if the HOA spent less time spying on me and more time fixing the broken streetlights, we wouldn't have to do this dance every week. My voice cracked with anger, and I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Karen's smirk widened like she'd just scored a point. We'll see about that, she muttered, turning on her heel. I thought that was another pointless HOA drama. Oh boy, was I wrong. 2 days later, just as I was pulling into the driveway, a black SUV rolled past me slow. Too slow. My gut clenched. Something about the tinted windows and the unmarked look screamed official. By the time I reached my front door, I saw Karen across the street, leaning against her mailbox like a snake waiting to strike. And then I heard its sirens. My heart dropped. No way, I whispered, my keys slipping from my hand. The SWAT team, yes, an actual SWAT team stormed my property. Search warrant, one officer barked as they kicked open my side gate. Neighbors peeked from their windows like it was free reality TV. Karen, of course, had her phone out, recording every moment. This is for the safety of our community, she yelled, fake tears in her voice. Wait, what's going on? I stammered, holding my hands up as one officer approached. We received a tip about counterfeit electronics being stored here, he said flatly. Step aside. My mind spun like a broken carousel. A tip? Karen. It had to be Karen. Inside, they tore through my garage, flipping open boxes, scanning labels and muttering into radios. I stood there, stunned, my breath shallow, my palms sweating. This is insane. These are just my moving boxes. Look at the receipts. I pleaded, but nobody was listening. Karen's voice pierced the chaos. Check the big black box in the corner. That's the one I saw. I stared at her. What black box? Then my gaze shifted, and I realized there was a box in the far corner I didn't recognize. My stomach turned cold. What the hell? I whispered, walking toward it, but an officer stopped me. They cracked it open and I swear I felt my knees buckle. Inside were stacks of electronics phones, tablets, cameras, none of which I'd ever seen before. Are you kidding me? I yelled, my voice shaking. That's not mine. I don't even own this stuff. Karen's grin could have split her face in half. Told you, she said sweetly, her phone still rolling. Our HOA can't tolerate crime. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab that smug phone out of her hand and toss it into the nearest storm drain. You planted this, didn't you? I snapped, pointing at her. Karen gasped theatrically, clutching her chest. How dare you accuse me? She shouted, her voice carrying over the crowd of gawking neighbors. The SWAT leader gave me a long, hard look. Sir, we'll need you to come with us for questioning. That was the moment I realized Karen might actually ruin my life. I could already see the neighborhood Facebook group lighting up with gossip. My throat felt like sandpaper. Wait, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Check the fingerprints. Do it. I'll wait right here. Karen froze for half a second, just a flicker, but I caught it. She didn't expect me to push back. Go ahead, she said. But there was a nervous edge now. Hours passed. The forensic techs checked every single item. I sat on my porch steps, my head in my hands, while Karen hovered like a vulture. At one point, I heard her whisper into her phone, "No, they're supposed to just take him away." That's when something inside me snapped. "Officer," I called out, my voice sharp. "You should know that Karen here has been harassing me since I moved in. Maybe check her property too, just in case." Karen's eyes went wide. "You have no right. You accused me of crimes I didn't commit." I cut her off. "If you're so sure I'm guilty, you won't mind them checking your garage too, right?" There was a long, tense silence. The SWAT leader glanced at his team. "We'll do a quick check." "Ma'am, please step aside." Karen sputtered like a broken sprinkler, but the officers didn't wait. They crossed the street. What happened next? Oh, sweet justice. As soon as they opened Karen's garage, I heard the words that nearly made me laugh out loud. "We've got something here," an officer shouted. I stood, my pulse racing. They wheeled out 3 massive crates identical to the black box that had been in my garage. And inside, a whole stash of counterfeit goods, perfectly sealed, ready for resale. The look on Karen's face was priceless. She went pale, her lips twitching like she just swallowed a lemon. That's not mine," she shrieked. "Someone must have planted that." I couldn't help it. Laughed. "Oh, now someone planted it? Karma's fast, huh?" Karen tried everything, tears, fake fainting, even accusing the SWAT team of conspiracy. But the evidence was clear. Her fingerprints were all over the crates. Turns out, she had been running an illegal side hustle for months, using HOA authority to cover her tracks. And guess what? The tip she sent about me? It backfired spectacularly. Karen's voice cracked as they handcuffed her right there on the street. "This is a mistake. I'm the HOA president. You can't do this to me." The officer's reply was cold and final. "Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you." The crowd of neighbors gasped. Phones were out, filming everything. I could almost hear the neighborhood group chat exploding with emojis and comments. I leaned against my porch railing, arms crossed, watching as her carefully curated image crumbled like dust. My heart was still pounding, but the anger that had been burning inside me all week felt strangely replaced with relief and maybe a hint of dark satisfaction. "You tried to ruin me, Karen," I muttered under my breath. "But you just buried yourself." Over the next few days, the fallout was nuclear. The HOA called an emergency meeting without Karen, of course. Turns out, the counterfeit ring she was running had been funding all her special HOA projects. Remember those unnecessary surveillance cameras she insisted we needed? Paid for by dirty money. The fancy new community garden with overpriced planters? Also linked to her little scheme. When the story broke online, our entire neighborhood went viral. I'm talking thousands of shares and comments like, "HOA Karen gets instant karma," and "She messed with the wrong neighbor." Then came the cherry on top. I got a call from a lawyer representing some of Karen's customers. People who unknowingly bought her fake electronics. Guess what they were planning? A lawsuit. A massive class action one. And because Karen used HOA accounts to launder her fake profits, the lawsuit named the HOA too. For a moment, I felt bad for the innocent board members, but honestly, they had let Karen run wild for too long. Maybe this was the reset button we all needed. Meanwhile, I couldn't walk down the street without someone stopping me. "Hey man, you really showed her." Or, "You should have seen her face, priceless." It was almost embarrassing, but in a weird way, it felt like justice had been served, not just for me, but for every neighbor she had bullied. One evening, as I was taking out the trash, one of the SWAT officers who had raided my house drove by and rolled down his window. "Good thing you stood your ground," he said with a grin. "She almost had us fooled." "Not anymore." I shook my head, still in disbelief. "Guess I owe you guys some coffee and donuts," I replied. He laughed and drove off, leaving me with a strange sense of closure. Karen? She's facing federal charges now, with her mugshot plastered all over local news. The HOA disbanded within a month, unable to survive the scandal and the mounting legal fees. Her empire of control? Gone. Just like that. And me? I learned one thing. Never underestimate the power of patience and evidence. Because when someone tries to frame you, Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting the truth burn them alive. So, if you enjoyed this wild HOA versus Karen story and want to hear more real-life neighborhood dramas and lawsuit-level karmic justice, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for the next jaw-dropping tale. It started with crumpled paper and a crinkled voice whispering down the school hallway. "They're trying to sell our homes to immigrants." What? I nearly dropped my coffee. My son had just shoved a flyer into my hand pulled straight from his locker at Rivertown Middle, and the HOA's logo was front and center. But there was one tiny, screaming problem. Our HOA doesn't send flyers to children. Ever. I squinted at the bold, all-caps lettering. "Mandatory meeting for property standards violation families with loud, disruptive children will be reviewed for eviction options." Signed, HOA President, Acting Interim. Who even writes like that? It was pure garbage. But the real kicker? The signature at the bottom said, K. Morrison, Interim Enforcement Officer. That's Karen. Full name? Karen Lynn Morrison, the self-proclaimed watchdog of Rivertown Estates. I felt my jaw tighten. She did what to the kids? Turns out, she'd slipped about 30 of these fake notices into lockers during after-hours volunteer time, abusing her access to the PDA's event committee. I couldn't believe it until I saw the security footage myself. Karen in her powder blue pantsuit and pearls, stuffing flyers like a damn mailbox elf gone rogue. My stomach flipped. The school was buzzing the next day. Kids were crying. Parents were confused and pissed. Some thought it was real. Others like Mech knew it stank of HOA madness. And then there was Mrs. Gonzalez. Her son Mateo got one of the flyers too, and she took one look, turned beet red, and muttered, "This is targeted. You see, Mateo has autism. Karen's been after their family since the day they moved in. Too loud. Improper decorations. Illegal wind chimes. You name it. She even tried to ban their Christmas inflatables. One year claimed the snowman was aggressive. Now, it wasn't just petty HOA complaints anymore. This was fraud and harassment of minors. The school resource officer, Officer Briggs, was already involved by lunchtime. He's calm, professional, former Marine, but I saw the twitch in his eye when he read the flyer. "Did she forge this HOA branding?" he asked, flipping it like evidence. "Yup," I said. "That logo's outdated. We haven't used that design since 2021. And Karen hasn't held any role in the HOA for over a year. She was voted out." "Interesting," he muttered. By 2 p.m., Karen was strutting into the school like she owned the damn district. She walked right past the front office, straight into the staff lounge, and tried to justify herself to the principal. I kid you not. She said the flyers were informational and symbolic. Symbolic? What kind of twisted Hallmark logic is that? That's when Officer Briggs walked in behind her and read her rights. "Excuse me?" she screeched, turning around like a cornered raccoon. "You can't arrest me. I'm on the PDA. I'm enforcing standards. You should thank me." "Karen Morrison," he said flatly, "you're being placed under arrest for criminal trespass, harassment of minors, forgery of an official seal, and impersonating a community officer. You have the right to remain silent." "Oh no, not his is all a mistake." Her voice cracked as she tried to twist out of the cuffs. "This is a civil matter, not criminal." "Tell it to the judge," Briggs replied, tightening the clasp. I'll admit I exhaled when those cuffs clicked, like a full-on dramatic, chest-clearing sigh. The hallway was dead silent. A couple kids peeked around corners. One even whispered, "Is that the HOA lady?" Another muttered, "Did she really try to evict my mom?" That night, our neighborhood group chat exploded. Screenshots of the flyer, security stills of Karen sneaking around lockers, and the cherry on top, Karen's mugshot in the local arrest report. Sneeze. Eyes closed, mouth open like she was being sucked into a void of her own making. But Karen's drama didn't end with the arrest. Oh no, that was just the spicy appetizer. A week later, her lawyer filed a motion to dismiss, claiming her actions were not criminal in nature and protected under free speech. But our HOA board wasn't having it. Neither were the parents. We met in the clubhouse that Saturday, and I swear half the community showed up with binders. Literal binders of past Karen offenses. Illegal mailbox checks. Fake warning letters on HOA letterhead. Spying on people's Ring cameras. At least 2 families said she'd followed their kids home from the bus stop. It wasn't petty anymore. It was patterned abuse. That's when our board president, Mrs. Thompson, dropped the twist we didn't see coming. Karen had created a phony subcommittee last year, Neighborhood Compliance Task Force, which never existed, never got board approval, but gave her access to old digital templates. That's how she forged the flyers. And the watermark? Stolen from our digital archives. Digital fraud. Now it was a whole different level. And guess who discovered it? Her own niece, Amber, who happens to be our HOA's IT consultant. Amber stood up, trembling slightly, and said, "I didn't know she'd use my login, but when I saw the flyer on Facebook, I traced it." Gasps. Literal gasps in the room. A neighbor dropped his iced tea. Karen, who always bragged about family values and homegrown loyalty, had just been outed by her own blood. We hired a civil attorney the following Monday. Filed a joint lawsuit on behalf of Rivertown Estates HOA and the school's parent association. Charges: fraudulent misrepresentation, identity theft of the HOA branding, and defamation. And mental anguish for parents and students. Civil penalties were stacking like bricks. The court date came fast. Karen showed up with a stiff bob haircut and a rented blazer 2 sizes too big. No pearls this time. No pride either. She tried to claim she was misunderstood and only trying to help maintain property values. But the judge wasn't buying it. He leaned forward, tapped the flyer with his pen, and said, "You involve children in a false, unauthorized enforcement notice without consent, legal status, or jurisdiction. That's not enforcement. That's manipulation. And dangerous." Karen's eyes darted. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered Mateo crying in the hallway, clutching the flyer like it meant his family would be kicked out. I remembered the teacher who thought she'd missed a real violation. I remembered Karen smirking during the winter meeting, saying, "Some people just don't belong here." No, I didn't feel sorry. I felt justice. The courtroom was tense, eerily silent as the verdict was read. We find the defendant, Karen Lynn Morrison, liable for fraud, harassment, and civil misrepresentation. Ordered to pay $85,000 in damages to the HOA and Parent Association, along with a permanent restraining order barring school access. The gavel hit the bench like a shotgun blast. Karen didn't flinch. She just sat there frozen, blinking too much, like her brain was buffering reality. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering furiously, but Karen didn't move. Not even a nod. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed like gnats. Microphones, flashing cameras, the whole circus. But the real sting came the next morning, when a local news segment aired the footage of her being cuffed in the school hallway. Slow-motion replay, twice, with dramatic piano music and a voiceover that said, "This isn't just an HOA dispute. This is about boundaries crossed, power abused, and a community fighting back." The cherry on top, the lawsuit opened a broader investigation into other flyer incidents across the county. Turns out, Karen had pulled similar stunts in 2 other HOAs where her sister and cousin lived. She'd been playing regional dictator, dropping unauthorized notices like she was some kind of community vigilante. That fake task force she created? Shut down. Blacklisted by the HOA Network Alliance. Her name was officially removed from every community mailing list. Even the neighborhood app banned her account. And the final twist? Her niece, Amber, the one who exposed her, was hired full-time by the HOA as head of digital security. The board even gave her a standing ovation at the next meeting. Karen? She quietly sold her house within a month. Moved 3 towns over. Rumor says she's trying to join another HOA under her middle name, Lynn Morrison. But with a Google search that now pulls up Karen plus fraud plus lawsuit plus cuffs. Good luck with that. So yeah, she thought she could outsmart us. She thought a few forged flyers could push families out. She thought no one would fight back. She was wrong. And if you ever catch yourself thinking, wait, can HOA drama really go this far? You've clearly never met a Karen with a printer and too much time. Hit subscribe for more real stories where lawsuits turn the tables and Karens get served harder than a restraining order on a Monday morning.